Google Stadia was supposed to be the next big thing in gaming. The people at Google were telling us that we needed to, quote, unthink the things we think are things. They described the experience as, quote, just your games, just your screens, and electric air. And the opportunity to get in on the username ground floor is, to Google, a unique time in history. Not only is this not a unique time in history at all, but my Xbox Live name is already just my middle name. Since launch, people have had issues that range from the nitpicky to the absolutely deal-breaking. Is this actually the disaster that everyone says it is, or is it just fine? Today we'll be answering that question and many, many more.
Unthink the things you think are things. Read.
The way we consume entertainment has been reorienting towards the streaming model for years now, but video games have been largely left out of that transition until now. Google Stadia intends to revolutionize the way people play games, starting what they call a one-way and inevitable shift away from consoles. They want to be the Netflix of video games. Stadia is set up in the same way as a service like Netflix. After the initial $129 investment, you have to pay a monthly fee to allow you to stream games in 4K. There will be an option available next year where it will be free to stream games in 1080p. By free, Google means that the service itself will not cost anything, but to play an individual game, you will have to buy it. Even now, with the monthly subscription, you'll have to pay for every game you want to play. So it definitely is a little confusing that Google is marketing this as a streaming service that you can subscribe to. The reason why services like Netflix, Disney+, Amazon Prime, or Apple Plus work is that you pay a monthly fee and get access to all sorts of different content. If Netflix were using Stadia's model, it would mean paying each month and then coughing up extra cash for every individual movie or episode of TV. When Netflix and other similar platforms launched, people were doubtful and nervous to give up the simplicity of just owning or renting DVDs. Gamers are having similar reactions. Here's how one YouTube commenter put it. Having to rely on an internet connection to play a game that you technically don't even own does not sound like a promising future for gaming. What has become interesting about Netflix and its competitors is their in-house production. A lot of the best and most popular TV shows, movies not so much, in recent years have been Netflix originals, or Amazon originals, and now Apple or Disney Plus originals. Could the same thing be in store for Stadia? Imagine with Google's unlimited reach and money what they could do. Whenever a new console releases, the most important thing is its exclusive games. Even though tech specs are important, listing them in an ad isn't going to make most people line up overnight. People have always and will always come for the games. 10 years ago, it was Halo 3 that sold the Xbox 360, Wii Sports that sold the Wii, and Uncharted is what got people to buy the PS3. It's the same thing in 2019. You even have a lot of the same franchises, but there are also some new ones like Ashen for Xbox or the proper web slinging of Spider-Man for the PS4. The Stadia only has one. You'd think that they would stick to the same formula as Sony, Microsoft, or Nintendo and release some big, action-packed, graphically impressive game. But they've taken a different route by releasing Guilt. Instead of showcasing the texture of rocks or the dynamic ripples in water, they've decided to go for a simpler, more art-directed vibe. Guilt is a super simple game. As far as gameplay goes, it's mostly elementary puzzle, stealth, and platforming. But what's most appealing about the game is its look and tone. It looks like every animated kids movie since 2005, but a little creepier, kind of like Monster House. It's an introduction to horror games, maybe even games in general, for a younger and more casual audience. And this is probably the heart of Google's strategy. They know that they're not going to be able to steal Xbox and PlayStation players on day one, and they'll probably never get the PC gamers. But like anything, the future of gaming is at the mercy of not the next younger generation, but the parents who bankrolled that generation's video games and consoles, and Stadia is candy to them. Well, through your phone mostly. Even though Stadia comes with a little Chromecast Ultra rig and a controller so you can play it on your TV, almost everything happens through your phone. It's like the two-screen setup that Nintendo's been refining over recent years, but without the fun stuff. To use Stadia on your TV, you have to set it up through your phone. To buy new games, you have to use your phone. To set up the controller, you need to use your phone. Even if you only want to use Stadia on your TV with a controller in the same way that you'd use, say, an Xbox, you have to download the Stadia app to set up the whole thing. There are a couple of reasons for this. The first is that Chromecast is pretty much an HDMI cable with an adapter on it. It needs another device, a phone or a computer, to actually broadcast anything to your TV. To activate Stadia, you need to input a code that Google emailed to you. It's all very confusing, and it's a result of Google wanting to remove everything physical from the video game experience and have you rely on Google products. Having a console that you can just turn on, plug in, and play is very simple. Ordering some cables and a controller online, downloading an app to your phone which can only be a Google Pixel, and inputting a code from your email to connect your phone to your TV so that you can play Tomb Raider on your TV with a controller that's connected as a separate client back to Google is, let's say, a little bit abstract for the casual gamer. For a system that exists solely to be hassle-free, this is an awful lot of hassle. If you're buying Stadia to play games on your laptop or your phone, although yes, Google did stretch the truth a little bit with their 4K claims, these games still look very good. Not as good as an Xbox One, PS4, or gaming PC, but still very good. The textures can sometimes pop in later than you'd hope, and when they do, look smoother than you'd like, but if you're not sticking your nose up into the screen and analyzing it pixel by pixel, it looks just fine. Especially when you look back and realize that games didn't look anywhere near this good only a few years ago. Let's start with the controller. It's got pretty good reviews overall because it's a pretty normal controller. It's taken elements of the Xbox, PS4, and Switch controllers and blended them all into a nice little thing that won't look offensive sitting on your coffee table. What's different about this controller is that when you play on your TV, it's not actually connected to the little Chromecast puck that Google sends you. It sends signals straight to Google's servers, which they describe as cutting out the middleman. The point of this direct connection is to limit the delay between pressing a button and the corresponding action on screen. From all the different reports we've seen, the latency is about 40 to 70 milliseconds on internet that Google rates as good or great. That's not bad, especially considering who Stadia's target audience is. Hint, it is not competitive Counter-Strike players. The most confusing thing about Stadia so far, and maybe the most important for its survival, is how much it costs. So how much does it cost? Well, what Google is calling the Premier Edition will set you back $129. This includes the controller, the little Chromecast thing, Destiny 2, and 3 free months of Stadia Pro, which is the 4K tier, but also the only existing membership tier right now. In 2020, Google will be rolling out another option where the monthly fee is non-existent and the streaming quality is capped at 1080p. Considering that the Pro option is already a functional 1080p, no matter how Google tries to explain it, the price does seem a little pricey. Considering that Stadia will be free in 2020, you might be wondering how Google will be making money on it. Well, so is everyone else. It's become clear recently that big tech companies that claim to be offering a free service or platform are bending the truth. Instead of taking your money, they're taking your data, where you go, what you buy, your politics, even your private messages, and trading it to other companies for their money. This kind of news hasn't been associated all that much with video games until now, but it has been associated with Google. A lot of people are worried that the whole point of Stadia is just for Google to be able to sneak a microphone into your living room. Google has, of course, denied that they'll be stealing our information. Or as they put it, we're committed to protecting and respecting users' privacy every step of the way. The patent application for the Stadia controller caused a stir when it was first discovered because it explicitly talks about private data. It says, quote, "A user's identity may be treated so that no personally identifiable information can be determined for the user, or a user's geographic location may be generalized where location information is obtained, such as to a city, zip code, or state level, so that a particular location of a user cannot be determined. Thus, the user may have control over how information is collected about the user and used by a content server." Honestly, they probably have all your information anyway. You may be thinking, wait, didn't Microsoft already unveil something exactly like this? Yes, they did. So what is the difference between these two services? For one, Project Xcloud is a beta. So the current limited release is meant as a test, a way to put out the product to some consumers who can get a feel for it and then give feedback back to Microsoft. It's also got way more games than Stadia. The Google service has 12, while Xcloud has 50. They're also, for the most part, pretty good games. Which brings us to the fact that Stadia also kinda seems like a beta. Although they're charging all this money for it, the services offered by Google and the quality of those services is nowhere near what Microsoft has going. It seems like someone at Google was a little too eager to push Stadia out before it was truly ready, and so we now have this interesting but unfinished version of what's supposed to be the future of video games. So you can't really get down on them for the quality of the system itself, but you can most definitely be annoyed that they're charging you all this money for it. Have you tried Stadia? What do you think of the whole idea of streaming games? Are you ready to live in the cloud, or will Google be prying the console out of your cold, dead hands? Let us know in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe to The Gamer.